The acceptance letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in March, thick and heavy with the weight of dreams. Realized, Isabella Morales held the Harvard University envelope in her trembling hands, afraid to open it, but unable to wait any longer. When she finally tore it open and saw the word congratulations, she screamed so loud that her mother came running from the kitchen, still wearing her yellow rubber gloves from washing dishes. "Misha, what happened? Are you hurt?" Maria Morales asked in rapid Spanish, her eyes wide with concern. Isabella couldn't speak. She just held up the letter, tears streaming down her face. Maria took it with wet hands, reading the words slowly, her English still careful after 22 years in America. When understanding dawned, she dropped her gloves and pulled her daughter into the kind of hug that holds 18 years of sacrifice and love. "Harvard," Maria whispered, the word foreign on her tongue, but beautiful nonetheless. "My baby is going to Harvard," they cried together in their small kitchen, surrounded by the modest furniture that Maria had bought piece by piece with paychecks from her job as a custodial worker at Lincoln High School, the same school where Isabella had just graduated as valedictorian, the same school where Maria had mopped floors and cleaned bathrooms for the past 15 years, working double shifts to make sure Isabella never went without. What Maria didn't know, what Isabella had carefully hidden from her, was the shame that had been eating at her daughter's heart for months. The shame of having friends whose parents were doctors and lawyers and business owners, while her mother emptied trash cans and scrubbed toilets. The shame of lying when classmates asked what her mother did for work. The shame that made her cringe every time she saw Maria in the hallways at school, wearing her uniform and pushing a cart full of cleaning supplies. Isabella loved her mother fiercely, but at 18, she also desperately wanted to fit in with her peers. She'd worked so hard to earn respect through her grades and achievements, terrified that the truth about her mother's job would somehow diminish her accomplishments in other people's eyes. The Family Feud opportunity came through a local charity organization that Maria volunteered with on weekends. They'd nominated the Morales family for the show's special American Dreams episode, featuring families who embodied the immigrant success story. Isabella's Harvard acceptance had made them perfect candidates. "We can't do it, Mama," Isabella said when Maria showed her the invitation letter. "What if my friends see? What if they ask about your job on national television?" Maria's face fell slightly, but she tried to hide her hurt. "I understand, Misha. You don't want to be embarrassed by your old mama." "It's not that," Isabella protested, but even as she said it, she knew it wasn't entirely true. I've worked so hard to build my reputation. I don't want anything to ruin it." Maria was quiet for a long moment, folding and refolding the invitation letter. "You know," she said finally, "when I was your age in Mexico, I dreamed of being a teacher, but we were poor, and girls didn't get those chances then. When your papa died and we came here, I took the first job I could find that would support us both. I'm not ashamed of cleaning. Isabella, someone has to do it, and I do it with pride." "I know, Mama," Isabella said softly, but she couldn't meet her mother's eyes. "But if you don't want to do the show, we won't do it. Your happiness is more important than anything else." 2 weeks later, Isabella changed her mind. It happened during her graduation ceremony, when she was giving her valedictorian speech, and spotted Maria in the audience, wearing her best dress and crying with pride. In that moment, Isabella realized that her mother's love and sacrifice deserved better than her daughter's shame. "Let's do it," she told Maria that night. "Let's go on Family Feud." The day of the taping, Isabella's stomach was in knots. They'd filled out the team with Maria's sister Carmen, Carmen's husband Luis, and their teenage son Miguel. A real family, representing real struggles and real triumphs. Steve Harvey noticed them immediately during the pre-show warm-up. There was something special about Maria, the way she carried herself with quiet dignity, the way she looked at Isabella with such obvious pride and love. And there was something interesting about Isabella too, the way she seemed simultaneously proud and nervous, protective of her mother but also somehow distant. "Tell me about your family," Steve said during the introductions, microphone in hand as cameras rolled. "We're the Morales family from Phoenix, Arizona," Maria said, her accent still thick after all these years. "I'm Maria, and this is my daughter, Isabella. She just graduated high school, And Maria's voice broke with emotion. She got into Harvard University. The studio audience erupted in applause. Steve's eyebrows shot up with genuine surprise and delight. Harvard. That's incredible. Isabella, you must be brilliant. Isabella smiled tightly, nodding. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. And what do you do, Maria? Steve asked, turning back to the mother. This was the moment Isabella had been dreading. She held her breath, praying her mother would find some way to make it sound better than it was. I work at Lincoln High School, Maria said simply. I'm in maintenance. Maintenance, Steve repeated. That's honest work. How long you been doing that? 15 years, Maria said with dignity. Same school where Isabella went. I got to see her grow up, watch her succeed. Steve nodded approvingly, but Isabella caught something in his expression, a flicker of understanding, as if he sensed there was more to this story. The game began against the Patterson family from Chicago, and both teams were competitive. Isabella proved to be quick with the buzzer and sharp with her answers, while Maria showed a surprising knowledge of popular culture, despite her humble background. It was during the third round that the question came that would change everything. We surveyed 100 people, Steve announced. Name a job that deserves more respect than it gets. Isabella was at the podium. The question hit her like a physical blow, and for a moment, she couldn't breathe. She looked back at her family, then at her mother, who was watching with encouraging eyes, not knowing the war raging in her daughter's heart. The studio was quiet, waiting for her answer. Isabella's mind raced through safe responses: teacher, nurse, social worker, answers that would keep her secret safe, that would protect the image she'd so carefully constructed. But then she looked at Maria again. Really looked at her. Saw the calloused hands that had worked so hard for her dreams. Saw the tired eyes that still lit up with pride whenever Isabella achieved something. Saw the woman who had sacrificed everything so her daughter could have everything. Janitor, Isabella said, her voice clear and strong. Steve's eyebrows raised. Janitor, that's interesting. Tell me why you think that. Isabella took a deep breath, and in that moment, made a decision that would define the rest of her life. Because, she said, looking directly into the camera, my mom is a janitor, and she's the hardest working person I know. The words hung in the air like a confession. Maria's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. She hadn't expected this, hadn't dared to hope that Isabella would claim her, would be proud of her. Your mom's a janitor, Steve repeated, his voice softer now. Yes, Isabella said, her voice growing stronger with each word. She cleans the school where I went to high school. She empties trash cans and mops floors and scrubs bathrooms. And she does it so I can chase my dreams. She's been doing it for 15 years, working double shifts, never complaining, never asking for anything for herself. The studio had gone completely quiet. Even the competing family was listening intently. She came to America with nothing. Isabella continued, tears now flowing freely down her face. She lost her husband. She left everything she knew, and she took a job that people looked down on because she wanted to give her daughter a better life. And you know what? She succeeded. I'm going to Harvard because my mom cleans bathrooms. I'm going to Harvard because my mom has dignity in her work and taught me to have dignity in mine. Steve Harvey, who had hosted thousands of shows and thought he'd seen every kind of family dynamic, found himself completely moved. He walked away from his podium and approached the Morales family section. Maria, he said gently, how do you feel hearing your daughter say that? Maria was sobbing now, unable to speak. Isabella rushed from the contestant podium to her mother's side, wrapping her arms around the woman who had given her everything. I'm sorry, Mama, Isabella whispered in Spanish, then switched to English, so everyone could understand. I'm sorry I was ever ashamed. I'm sorry I ever made you feel like your work wasn't important. You're the most important person in the world to me. Steve watched this reunion, and something in his expression shifted completely. The entertainer mask fell away, replaced by something deeper and more human. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice carrying across the silent studio, we just witnessed something that's a lot more important than any game show. We just watched a young woman remember what really matters. He turned back to Isabella and Maria, who were still holding each other. "Isabella," he said, "let me tell you something. I grew up poor. My mama worked multiple jobs to support us kids, and there were times when I was young and foolish that I wished she had a fancier job, a more impressive title. But you know what I learned? The size of someone's paycheck doesn't determine the size of their heart. The fanciness of their job title doesn't determine the value of their character." He paused, looking directly at Maria. "Your mama didn't just clean that school for 15 years, she invested in that school. She took pride in making it a place where kids like you could learn and grow. She was part of your education every single day, even if nobody noticed." Steve walked back to the game board. "Let's see if Janitor is up there," he said. The board revealed it was the number 3 answer, worth 18 points. "But more importantly," Steve continued, "let's talk about what Isabella just taught all of us. She just showed us that real strength isn't about hiding where you come from. It's about honoring where you come from." The audience began to applaud, but Steve held up his hand. "Isabella, you said your mama cleaned so you can dream, but let me tell you what I see. I see a woman who didn't just clean bathrooms, she cleaned a path to Harvard for her daughter. I see a young woman who didn't just get good grades, she got wisdom. Most importantly, I see a family that understands something a lot of people don't, that there's dignity in all honest work, and love makes everything beautiful." Steve reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his business card. "Isabella, you're going to do great things at Harvard, but you're going to do them because you understand where you came from and who supported you along the way. That's going to make you not just successful, but significant." He handed the card to Isabella, then did something unprecedented. He removed his suit jacket and walked over to Maria. "Mrs. Maria," he said, draping the jacket over her shoulders, "this jacket has been with me through a lot of shows, but I've never given it to anyone who deserved it more. You wear this and remember that you didn't just raise a Harvard student, you raised a woman of character." Maria, overwhelmed by the gesture and the words, could only nod through her tears. But the moment that would become legendary happened next. Isabella, still standing next to her mother, turned to address the studio audience directly. "I want everyone to know something," she said, her voice strong and clear. "For years, I was embarrassed by my mother's job. I lied to my friends about what she did. I made her feel like her work wasn't important. But today, I want everyone to know that I am Isabella Morales, and I am the daughter of Maria Morales, who is the best janitor at Lincoln High School, and I am proud of her." The applause that followed was deafening. The audience rose to their feet spontaneously, not because they were prompted to, but because they had just witnessed something real and profound. The competing Patterson family abandoned their podium and came over to embrace the Morales family. Even the production crew was wiping their eyes. Steve, who rarely showed his own emotions so openly, had tears streaming down his face. "In 30 years of television," he said, "I have never been more proud to host a show. Isabella, your mama didn't just clean bathrooms, she polished your future, and Maria, you didn't just raise a daughter, you raised a queen." The game continued, but it was transformed. Every answer became an opportunity to celebrate, not just competition, but character. When the Morales family won the final round and the $25,000 prize, the celebration was about more than money. It was about recognition, about dignity, about love overcoming shame. The episode aired 6 weeks later and immediately went viral. The clip of Isabella claiming her mother's profession with pride was shared millions of times. The hashtag Janitor's Daughter began trending, with people sharing stories of their own parents' humble but honorable work. Harvard University's admissions office sent Isabella a personal letter, telling her that they had seen the episode and were even more excited to welcome her to campus. "You embody exactly the kind of character and perspective we value," the letter read. But perhaps the most meaningful response came from Lincoln High School. The students organized a surprise appreciation ceremony for Maria, presenting her with a plaque that read, "To Mrs. Maria Morales, who taught us that taking care of our school means taking care of each other. Thank you for 15 years of making Lincoln a better place." Isabella spoke at the ceremony, wearing Steve Harvey's jacket over her graduation gown, My mother taught me that there's no shame in honest work, she told the assembled students and faculty. She taught me that how you do your job matters more than what your job is. She taught me that pride comes from within, not from other people's opinions. The change in Isabella was profound and permanent. At Harvard, she never once lied about her mother's profession. She joined organizations dedicated to supporting first-generation college students and became an advocate for recognizing the dignity of all work. Maria kept Steve's jacket hanging in her closet, but she also kept working at Lincoln High School. The difference was in how she carried herself, with the knowledge that her daughter was proud of her, that her work mattered, that love had transformed shame into strength. 2 years later, Isabella called Steve Harvey on the anniversary of their appearance. It had become a tradition. "Mr. Steve," she said, "I wanted you to know that I made Dean's List again this semester." "That's wonderful, baby girl. How's your mama?" "She's amazing. Still cleaning, still proud, still the strongest woman I know." "And Mr. Steve?" "I tell everyone about her. I tell them my success story started with a woman and a mop." Steve smiled on the other end of the line. "That's exactly right, Isabella. That's exactly right." Today, Isabella Morales is in her junior year at Harvard, studying public policy with a focus on labor rights and worker dignity. She's written articles about the hidden workforce that keeps America running, always beginning with the story of her mother. Maria still works at Lincoln High School, but now she also speaks at graduations and community events about the importance of supporting your children's dreams, no matter what your job title is. The jacket that Steve gave her still hangs in her closet, but she's worn it to every major milestone in Isabella's college career. It's become a symbol of pride, reclaimed, of love that transforms everything it touches. And in room 2037 at Lincoln High School, where Maria stores her cleaning supplies, there's a small framed photo. Isabella in her Harvard sweatshirt, standing next to her mother, both of them beaming with pride. Next to it is a quote that Isabella wrote: "Success isn't about forgetting where you came from, it's about honoring who brought you there. Because sometimes the most important lesson you can learn is that love doesn't need to be impressive to be powerful. It just needs to be real."